Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s historic march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama was a defining moment in the civil rights movement. The march was a peaceful way to protest the unjust treatment of African Americans in our country. Shortly after, legislation was signed to give everyone the right to vote, regardless of race, religion, or creed. The events of March 21st inspired an Oscar-nominated film. But what you may not know is that students from North Central College took part in the march. I recently took a look back at the stories from those students who boarded the bus to Alabama that day. 1965 was a turbulent time in the civil rights movement, punctuated on March 7th when a group of peaceful protesters were brutally attacked as they attempted a march from Selma to Montgomery, stopped at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. That day, forever known as Bloody Sunday, awoke a nation's consciousness and struck a chord with one man here in Naperville. The late George St. Angelo was the first chaplain of North Central College and was no stranger to racism.
I came from a background that was very open, and my dad and mother were involved in the racial situation in our little town. And so it was, and my dad particularly was the object of Ku Klux Klan.
Hoping to begin a dialogue here in North Central, St. Angelo invited the founder of the Congress on Racial Equality, James Farmer, to give a speech on campus. His words on taking action were powerful and effective. They spurred St. Angelo to organize a trip to Selma to join Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on another march held on March 21st. Not everyone was in support of the college being involved in something so controversial for the time. NCC President Arlo Schilling was cautious to let the kids go.
He supported me in everything except going to the march. And I didn't realize until a year or so ago that the reason I went in to see him, and he said, I asked him if he would come out and say something to the kids, and he said, I wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot ball, and I'll be in a Sunday school class and all that. Well, it took me a long time. It's just in the last 2 years or so, it really dawned on me. He was scared to death something was going to happen. And I didn't think anything about that.
However, on March 21st, 120 North Central students, staff, and faculty joined St. Angelo to take part in what would become a historic protest.
Oh, it changed them. I think, I'm trying to remember, but we had 3 bus loads, and I think we must have had filled 2 of them from North Central. The chaplain from Elmhurst, he had a bunch, and then people heard about it, and so we filled the buses. It had an impact on the campus, no doubt about that.
Catherine Agnew was among those on the bus. Recently graduated from North Central, she chose to serve as a chaperone, driven to take a stand against inequality. Her memories of that day were still vivid decades later.
Dr. Martin Luther King spoke that morning on the steps of the church. He was such a marvelous speaker, you know. But as I recall, he really pitched the moment of when we would cross the bridge and then step off the Pettus Bridge as marking such a significant answer to what had happened on the Pettus Bridge, and nobody got to step off on the other side. We were in rows, and Jerry Goethe was in a row a couple ahead of me. And when I saw him step off the bridge, and then moments later I did, that really stays in my mind as something that was so moving.
It was some day. There's no doubt about that. We crossed the bridge, and I think we went out to maybe 3 miles out, 4. And I pulled them out because we had to go start home that night. And by golly, all the protection passed. The troops and I guess, the National Guard. And there were a bunch of Mississippi at this crossroad, and they were over the other side of the crossroad, and boy, they were going after us.
Dr. King famously asked that day, how long?
Yes, sir. How long, not long. Yes, sir. Because no lie can live forever. Yes, sir.
And it was not long. 5 months later, President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act into law on August 6, 1965, enacting the legislation to guarantee voting rights for all Americans. A historic moment for not only the nation, but for those who boarded the buses at North Central that day, riding toward a new tomorrow.